Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. Today we have another request. As always on Fridays I've been rolling out those requests. Make sure you guys are commenting on them in the video below what you want to see next in terms of requests. I do still have this really long sticky note here that's full of them. So it may take a few months, but I promise you, I'll get to it. Also, please consider subscribing because it helps me out a lot. Subscribing is really what's going to help me push through and get those get these watch times up and sell me, basically. I pay a lot for streaming services such as CBS, where you can find We Were Soldiers, which I'm going to talk about later. Make sure you guys are doing that because it really helps me out a lot if you guys subscribe. The more the merrier also, so please consider subscribing. Please. But today, I'm excited to talk about We Were Soldiers. We Were Soldiers was released in 2002. It was written and directed by Randall Wallace. So for those of you who do not know what this means, first of all, shout out to Bryce for recommending this in the comments down below. Really appreciate it. If there's something else you want to watch, want me to see, put it down in the comments down below, and I shall watch it. So this is on CBS, as I mentioned before in the intro. So you can watch it on CBS All Access, although at this point, I don't know when it changes, but it'll be Paramount Plus soon, which it will also be in there probably. This movie's like 2.5 hours long, so it took me a while to get through it. It took me 2.5 hours, and for those of you who don't know what it is about, basically, it's a war movie, which is really all you kind of have to know about this movie to understand it. Really what it's about is it's about the impact that war can have on the living, sort of. And I don't mean like PTSD-wise, but like at the time. Essentially, Colonel Hal Moore is in charge of his troops, and a lot of his troops die, and he feels really sad about it. That's like basically the whole movie. It's a long time for a movie to run without necessarily being a good movie. And that's not to say that it's a bad movie, because I liked it. It's just very repetitive in terms of what the movie does and what other movies have done in the past. I understood this is 2002, but still, even before this, there's a lot of this stuff going on where it's just a war movie, and that's really what it was for like 2 hours of this is war movie. The other half hour of it is character development, and really good character development. There's a lot of really cool characters in this that they could have explored more. Also, this gave me an idea for a movie in case anyone is making movies. Or if anyone can point me in the direction of a movie that is like this. The effect of PTSD... Oh, there is one, actually. There's one that comes out soon. The movie Cherry, which comes out on the 12th of March with Tom Holland in it. That one is technically about PTSD, so I guess... Never mind. But this movie is interesting because, like, we have a lot of really cool character development, and there was a lot of war in between. And while I like war movies in general, like Hacksaw Ridge is one of my favorite movies of all time, this was not one of my favorite movies of all time because it's so repetitive, right? Like, it's the Vietnam War, and we see them fighting just random groups of Viet Cong, and while I think it's interesting because some of it is towards development of character, it's also really long. Like, there's just a lot of fighting. And while I like war movies that have fighting... War movies without a lot of fighting are even better. Like Hacksaw Ridge, only like half an hour of it was fighting. The rest of it was just really good character development. This was the opposite problem. And I think what really sold this movie was a couple of the actors in particular, and the character development that we saw from these actors. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about them first. So Mel Gibson as Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore. So Mel Gibson's very hit or miss with me. I loved him in The Patriot, but there's some other ones I didn't particularly like for Braveheart. I'm sure I'll review that at some point in the future. And I love that he directed Hacksaw Ridge. Thank you, Gibson, for giving me that. Acting-wise, I think he's okay. I think he's good. I think that he's really good at portraying what he feels. And in this movie, it's the same. His character is really fun because we get to see that he has a family, and then in the end, you know, he's sad because all of his friends kind of died, and he feels bad for their families, but he's back with his family. I wish we spent more time with that, right? Because we get to see a lot of the war, which is fine, but the impact of war is such an interesting concept that we don't explore very much in film. That would be really fun to see. There's a lot of really cool movies that explore that impact, but we need more, all right? Because action movies are fun, but war movies that are just war for the sake of a movie isn't very fun for audiences to watch, right? Like, sure, I can watch a 2-hour-long war, but why am I watching it, right? Like, if it's just to show me that they're dead, just so I can understand how Hal Moore is feeling, I don't need 2 hours of it. Just show me, like, a little bit of, like, his friends dying, and I can understand that we have him dying. That's great. Like he can feel sad for his loss of his friends, but I don't necessarily need a long movie about it, right? It's not something that we necessarily need to see in order to understand how Hal Moore is feeling. That being said, Mel Gibson was really good, and I think that he did really good with the character that he had. Him in battle really helped understand how he was feeling, but we don't really see a lot of him when fighting, which is kind of annoying. Madeline Stowe as Julie Moore. So there's a little side plot kind of where we see the wives at home, and Julie Moore is the wife to Hal Moore, and we see that she volunteers to start handing out the death cards. Basically like, hey, your husband died in the war. We're sorry. I like that we had that in the movie. I just wish we had even more of it. Again, when we got rid of the war part, it was really interesting. We should have a whole movie about the death cards that they hand out, and like, that'd be a really cool and really sad and really emotional movie, right? And here we had this emotional, like, 20 minutes, and I'm like, oh, wow! And that was just kind of it. Then it was like, it never really resolved, it never really moved anything, it didn't really bring me to tears as much as I wish it would. I think it was a cool subplot, and I really liked it. I liked it a lot, and I wish we had more of that. We should make that the movie, and the war can be the side plot, because really that's what it is, right? That's what war is for us at home, right? War isn't about the outcome of the war, right? The war is a distraction from life, right? Like, if I'm not a soldier, but my brother's a soldier, I'm going to be more upset about my brother being in the war than the war itself, right? Why don't we have more movies that explore that? Why don't we have more movies that make you feel for the characters there? And I really liked this little side plot that we had with Julie Moore here, and I think it was a fantastic performance, and we deserve a little bit more for that. Barry Pepper as Joe Galloway. So Joe Galloway is a photographer, and he goes into the war to photograph the war, basically. And he and Hal Moore get a little bit of a relationship going, and it's like a father figure almost. And I just wanted to mention that I thought the acting was really particularly great here, and I liked that little plot. I almost wish we had an entire movie about war photography. Why don't we have that? There's so many options that aren't conventional, that are really fun, and I think would be really interesting to explore here. But they don't, and it's upsetting because there's so many really cool ideas. And if you know of any movies that are like these things, please drop in the comments down below. I'd love to give them a watch, because I'm intrigued in war movies. I love war movies, but I don't like war movies that are just war the whole time. I love character development, and we get a little bit of that here, and it's really good. And the little parts that we haven't are fantastic. The war parts, the special effects and makeup are really, really, really good. They're just the small problem. 2 hours of it is just fighting. So I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a B. I think a B is a fair rating. I'm not going to say skip the movie. I like it. I definitely would recommend watching it at least once. I probably wouldn't watch it again because it is just a lot of war. It is on CBS All Access or Paramount Plus, whatever it is at the time that you're watching this. But please, consider watching it. It's interesting. Later on today, hopefully we'll have my Tom and Jerry review out, as well as my next WandaVision Robert's Thoughts episode. I don't know for sure. I'm filming this like 2 weeks in advance, so it depends on how things are going in that particular day. Next week we are officially in March, so next week's my birthday. I'll be turning 20. Next week we have Justice League, Revolutionary Road, Inhumans Season 1, Cafe Society, and Pay It Forward, Another Request. Also on that Friday, hopefully the finale of WandaVision, which is insane that we're already there. Chaos Walking as well comes out that day. That is a movie that I am unsure if I'm going to be able to see, because as of the time of the filming, I'm only allowed to see it in theaters, and my movie theater is currently closed. So that may be something that I review if I have access to it. If any of you guys have information about how I can access that, there's a good chance I already know, because I'm filming this like 3 weeks in advance, so it's like February 11th, so I probably will know by that point. But if you're interested in me reviewing that, please drop in the comments down below, and I'll do it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to March. We got a lot of really cool stuff going on in March, a lot of really fun stuff. Snyder Cut comes out, Falcon Winter Soldier starts, Cherry with Tom Holland, Chaos Walking with Tom Holland, and of course Godzilla vs. Kong. So expect a Godzilla MonsterVerse series at the end of March. But that is March. I'm very excited. As always, keep watching movies and television, stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.